Starting a business looks exciting. Behind the scenes, it's full of uncertainty, mistakes, and hard decisions. I'm Kriti Rupara. On the Business Blueprint podcast, entrepreneurs share their highs and lows and how they practically applied real business school lessons while building their companies. This is real conversation and practical learning. Welcome to the Business Blueprint podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Business Blueprint podcast. I'm your host, Kriti Rupara. Now, this podcast, as you know very well, is about gaining valuable insight from our founders and entrepreneurs in their entrepreneurial journey as they practically apply the business lessons as they grow and build their business. In the earlier episode, in fact, the first episode, we talked about the product market fit, that is building a product and solving real problems, which helps to solve real problems, I should say. And today's episode is going next step further. We are going to talk about customer feedback and its role in product evolution and innovation. And we have a fantastic guest here with us, Mallory Maynard, founder of Gibbly. Now, just to share about Gibbly, it is an AI-powered platform that helps teachers and educators create curriculum, teaching curriculum, engaging learning materials, gamified learning experiences, and helps to save 30% of their time. And they are able to focus in teaching and supporting the students. In fact, Gibbly has been featured as one of the top 100 EdTech companies in EdTech Digest. So let's have a conversation with Mallory and learn about her journey in the customer feedback and how she created innovation through Gibbly. So Mallory, welcome to the Business Blueprint podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
So Mallory, let's talk about the origin of Gibbly. Like, how did you start Gibbly? And what was the problem that you were trying to solve for teachers through your platform?
Yeah, so I previously had another edtech company. We were building mobile games to inspire girls into STEM. And because of that, we spent a lot of time in the classroom, either running workshops, teaching coding, or just in general, doing workshops about STEM. And I spent a lot of time with teachers. And I would be there for a workshop for a day or two. I'd be just like wiped because it's so overstimulating at the school. There's so many kids. It's so loud. And then these teachers have to go home and do lesson planning to prepare for the next day. I'll give an example. I was volunteering one Saturday and Sunday, and I was volunteering all weekend with this group of teachers. And then the one teacher asked me, because I was kind of like in charge or whatever, she asked me, is it okay if I leave a bit early because I still have to do some lesson planning? And it was like 5 or 6 p.m. on a Sunday. Everyone else was zonked. And then she had to go home and start lesson planning for the week. So that was kind of the genesis of Gibbly. I realized like how hard it is to be a teacher. And I just wanted to help them solve some of their problems.
It's amazing. Like, you understood their pain point and you decided to come up with a platform that could help them and saving that time, and they can spend time even with their family or with themselves for sure. So how was it about the early days of building the platform? What did the first version look like?
Yeah, it was really bad. It was like a really ugly version. To give some context, like I think I incorporated the company like November 1st or something of 2022. And then shortly after, while we were building our first prototype of the solution we thought we were going to build, ChatGPT and OpenAI launched. And then we like had an epiphany of like, okay, now we can really do something here because we can use AI to help teachers generate content resources for the classroom a lot faster. So our first product was like atrocious. It was just like a one-page website where teachers would enter in the topic that they wanted to generate a quiz on, and then it would generate it. And I think either they could just copy paste it or they could download it also to PDF. But at the time, because my colleague and I used to do mobile gaming predominantly, like that was our technical expertise, we really didn't know how to do web development yet. So it was like not only ugly, but not very functional. But it did at least get some teachers. It did save them hopefully a couple of hours because they could, create a quiz and then download it for tomorrow's lesson.
24,000 miles begins with a single step, and that's when you're getting the feedback from the teachers. You are able to, start the evolution of Gibbly. So now, teacher burnout definitely is a major challenge in education. So how did this insight help to shape your product vision that you have in mind?
Yeah, so the more time I spend with teachers, like the more I realize the The teacher burnout is a very multifaceted issue. A lot of it has to do with behavioral problems in the classroom, which I don't really know how to help with, nor do I know necessarily how to help with it. So learning more about teacher burnout and what specifically contributes to it has made it easier to kind of build solutions that tackle some of these low-hanging fruit. Like, for example, like I've learned that a lot of the Ontario teachers that are French teachers or French-speaking teachers, they don't have access to a lot of resources. So helping build tools that make their lives easier where they can actually generate content has been super helpful. Um, but I'm still learning. Like every time I spend time with a teacher, I learn, something else that contributes to the burnout. So I'm always have my ear listening to like what their problems are so that I can keep trying to think about solutions to make their lives easier.
And that's great that they are also sharing their pain points and even feedback. So, how do you typically gather this feedback from the teachers using the platform?
Yeah, so from a technical point of view, we have a lot of like tracking in the platform, like first party tracking. So we can see like, which buttons people are clicking, which pages they're looking at, how often they're using it, et cetera, et cetera. And that's helpful, but the most helpful feedback is just watching someone use it. I learn a lot more in like half an hour or even 10 minutes of watching people try to click buttons. So a couple of weeks ago, I was in Sudbury for one of their PD days, and I was like watching them thinking, oh wow, we really got to change some things because it's just not as intuitive as I think it is. So in person, watching them how to use it is the best way. I get a lot of emails from teachers asking for new features and such, so I try to listen to as many as I can, or put them on the roadmap at least. And then we have built-in architecture that tracks their behavior so we can understand what they're doing.
Much your feedback. So, how do you know which feedback to act on? Because you have many ideas and suggestions coming from teachers. So, how do you streamline this?
Yeah, it's not easy. I try to, if I know someone, there's kind of a couple of different ways I prioritize it. If I know that a specific person is using the product a lot and I can see in their, like in the dashboard that they're using it a lot, I try to put a lot of merit in their feedback because they know they use it a lot so they can kind of see what the issues are, especially if they recommend something that I think will improve the lives of a lot of people. I will prioritize their feedback. Some of the other stuff I've done is if a school board requests a specific feature, I try to prioritize that, especially if it's a prospective customer. That has been hit or miss because it might not always mean that they purchase licenses. But if it's something that I believe will positively affect everybody, I will give it a lot of, it will kind of bump it up the chain. So it's kind of like juggling a bunch of plates, but that's how it feels like anyway. So I don't have a clear methodology on how to do it. I probably should come up with them now that we're talking about this, but that's how I go about it.
That's a perspective from a third person like me. It's better what it goes. I'm sure there is one more step on evolution for you for Gibbly, which I completely say it's a fabulous solution. But if you can share specific examples wherein the feedback from the teachers has helped to create a new feature or an improvement in your product.
Yeah, so in early days, we were just going off of what we thought. Everything we build pretty much now is from some feedback. Very rarely do we just decide to build something unless someone has requested it. An example of something that isn't maybe something they directly asked for, but we realized through what they were saying that it was a good idea. So in last year, we had one of the schools we were working with, they were essentially asking us to kind of build like a Canva clone. Like they were asking for a lot of different features that was essentially Canva. And I was racking my brain trying to think like, how is a two-person team with one really full-time developer going to rebuild Canva? Like not all of Canva, but enough of it that I knew that it was going to be a huge technical challenge for us. And then by pure happenstance, I met a representative from Canva at a conference, and we were talking, and I was, they're Canva, so I know they're not super worried about us doing anything that's going to steal their business. So I was telling him, we have a bunch of teachers who basically want us to build a Canva app in our platform, and I don't know how we're going to do it. And then he brought up the fact that they have a developer program So we can actually port all of our product directly into Canva. So that's really like how the Canva app came to be, and that was like maybe one of the best decisions we've made. Um, and it all came from feedback of like them requesting stuff that I knew was going to be nearly impossible for us to build. So, and then it all kind of worked out where we put it into Canva, and now we have a ton of new teachers using the platform that we wouldn't have had before.
And you got a very good partnership opportunity with Canva as well. It's a win-win situation for sure. So the school board who asked you for the Canva tool, and how did you close the feedback loop for them? Like, how did you let them know about the inputs that they gave you influenced in adding new feature for your product?
Yeah, so I mean, I got them on the phone right away to show it to them, and that's normally how I do that with any kind of feedback. Like if a teacher requests something, for example, through email, I will tell them like the second it's launched, as long as like I'm confident that we've tested it thoroughly and it's not gonna be an issue for them. But I tell them right away. So in the case of teachers, I email them right away and I say, hey, we added that button that you requested. Let me know what you think. If it's not good, let me know. If we add something for like a school or a school board, my goal over the next week is to get them again on a call so that I can show them what we built so that they can hopefully get their teachers using it as soon as possible.
It's wonderful. You keep them posted. You continue building that relationship with the teachers, Mallory. So that's very impressive. Now, what were some of the key milestones that signaled Gibbly that it was gaining traction?
Yeah, there's been a lot of like interesting. It's funny at the early days when we crossed like 500 teachers, we had like a little celebration, and like in in hindsight, that's like so little in comparison to where we are now. But we've really celebrated like pretty much every milestone. Like when we hit 1,000, when we hit 5,000, 10,000. When we launched the Canva app, if I remember correctly, we were about like 25,000 teachers, and within a month we had hit 50,000. Like we doubled from just that integration. Last mid last year we crossed 100,000. So I don't know. We've been celebrating every point of the way.
Fabulous traction, Mallory, like in such a short period of time, like double every month, you can say so. So you've reached 100,000 almost now, right? Over 100,000. So but when scaling it from, because you're building your platform, there must be some challenges that you face. So what were those challenges from the early users to the many thousands of educators that are using the platform now?
Yeah, so going back to what I said previously, we were mobile game developers, not web developers. So we didn't really know what we were doing. We made a lot of poor like architecture choices. We tried to talk to AWS quite a bit in the early days to understand like how to go about building scalable architecture, but we still made a ton of mistakes that we had to like rebuild as we were growing that were like costly. Thankfully, Amazon gave us a ton of credits, so we didn't really waste our own money. But yeah, that was probably one of the biggest challenges. Like architecturally, we just didn't set it up correctly, and we've had to like refactor a lot of things to make it work. From like a business side of things, every new kind of state that we go to, or even just like a new, slightly different demographic, we've had to make changes. So in the case of anytime we go into a new state, we have to add their local curriculum. So that has been a challenging thing for us, just because it takes time to process the curriculum and get it into the system. Some of the other things is if we're supporting, like I said previously, French Ontario teachers, we had to add French in a lot of places. So there's been a lot of challenges to scaling. I don't know, both technical and from like a business perspective.
But look at you, you are smiling with grace. You're tackling these challenges. You are the true entrepreneur. You're navigating these challenges, building a solution to cater to your clients as well. So that's really amazing. But how would you say you can balance the innovation with the practical needs of the teachers in the classroom?
Yeah, I think both of us are tech people. So we're always constantly thinking like tech is the answer. But every time I go to the classroom, I'm reminded that it's not, not at least in the way that we think it is. So I'm always thinking of ways that we can like incorporate AI into their lives. But I think I've learned I've spent a lot of time with teachers since September, and I've learned that putting it in their hands is cool, but it may not be the best answer. I think the next kind of evolution of what we're going to be up to is we're going to spend more time like building AI systems that can help us author content, and then they can just pull something that's already done and edited and perfected and ready to go. Because what I don't want to do is, and I think this is one of like the criticisms of AI, is that like it doesn't necessarily save time because you're spending more time on like the editing of the output. So what I want to do is build systems maybe that author everything so that the teachers can just grab and go. Because I don't know, now that I've spent a lot of time with teachers, especially like in the more rural areas of Ontario, not a lot of them are using AI as much as I would expect. So I don't know if teaching them how to use it is really where I want to spend my time the next year and a bit. I think instead I want to build systems that leverage AI to make their lives a lot easier. So that's how I'm kind of balancing that in my head. Like I'm really tech focused, so I'm trying to remember that not everyone's like me, and that is often a challenge. So
You're receptive of the feedback of the pain points that they are having, and you have done the observation that maybe AI adoption needs to be undertaken in the rural areas as well. So what would be your vision for Gibbly in the next few years then?
yeah, so I mean, I have some ideas. I think my main goal is to keep diving deeper into the problem and understand the best way to solve it, or maybe some of the best ways to solve it. So I have some ideas. I don't. In the early days, I was constantly making like targets of like, oh, we're gonna reach this number of users, we're gonna reach this revenue number. I've been consistently wrong in all of my predictions. So what I can control is how much effort I put into solving the problem, or solving some of the problems. So that's really what my focus is. And I don't know if I don't want to say I don't have a vision for Gibbly. I would love to see Gibbly in every classroom in Ontario in the next 10 years, but whether we get there or not, I don't know. But I can focus on what I can control, which is figuring out the problem and making sure I understand how to make teachers' lives easier.
Identify the gap in the market you're addressing and coming up with a fantastic solution for sure. So if you would have to give an advice to founders about listening to customers and building products, what advice would you give them? Because they need to build a products that truly solve the problems for the customers. So what was the advice that you would suggest for the founders?
My main advice is if you can't name a specific person that you're solving the problem of, you're probably not solving anyone's problem. Truly. Like, if you cannot be like, that person named X is who I'm solving this problem for, you probably are not doing a good job of solving anyone's problem. And the reason I say that is because we have had a ton of users on our platform. And unless I talk to them directly, I don't understand like why they're using our platform and what specific pain point is solving for them. So if you're an entrepreneur and you are just like helping like some abstract group of people, if you can't name one, you're not helping them. So go find that person and figure out how to help that person.
Because that's the right target segment for you, and you are actually creating the right solution for what they needed and solve a real problem, right? In the ecosystem. So, and any nuggets of wisdom you would like to share it with our founders here?
Any nuggets of wisdom? Not really related to entrepreneurship necessarily, but I've in the last couple weeks or so, since the weather has gotten warm, I've been committing to 10,000 steps a day. And that's been the best thing for my brain and my body. So if you're not moving now that the weather's better, you're doing yourself a disservice. So get out there, get active, and that's going to provide some clarity of thought that you didn't have during these long winter months.
Absolutely. But you finally, we are tackling the seasonal depression. It's getting over. The moment is there. There's a domino effect for sure. Like, I'm a marathon runner, so I kind of get what she's saying. 10,000 steps, that's a sense of accomplishment. And then the confidence that you bring in, and you can put it into your work, into your business, right?
Exactly.
And one last question. So in regards with the constructive feedback, I'm sure that just came in mind this question. So if you have received any constructive feedback from your clients, like how do you tackle it?
If I receive constructive feedback that I don't like or that I do like, I guess constructive you probably don't like.
Pathetic word to say, but yeah.
if it's really constructive, like, and I'm hurt, I normally let myself be hurt for a second and then I tackle it. I'm trying to think of an exact situation where I got feedback. There are so many other AI tools doing stuff for teachers, so I feel like I'm constantly getting constructive feedback. This when you're an entrepreneur, you can't stay offended for long. At least that's been my opinion. So if I do receive constructive feedback, I take it. I might get a little hurt for a second, and then I continue on my way. And then if it's something I can implement into the platform, then typically we do. Unless it's like something crazy, like the Canva thing, where I knew it would take like a lifetime for us to build. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. I don't know. I just deal with it and then continue moving.
Take it in stride, right? Like these are also some hard questions or situations that we need to deal with as an entrepreneur. But no, Mallory, these are great inputs that you shared, and it has been a privilege that I met you, cross paths with you. So thank you so much for giving time and sharing about your journey on customer feedback. Thank you so much. And our listeners, if you would like to connect with Mallory, she's very active on LinkedIn. Please do follow her. I'll share her LinkedIn details as well. And I'll also share the website of Gibbly. Please do check out the tool. It's fabulous. And Mallory, you're doing amazing work. So keep moving forward. And I wish you all the best as you continue to carve a niche in the ecosystem.
Thank you, Pretty. So happy to be on your podcast. Thank you so much for inviting me.
And listeners, if you find the podcast helpful, please do share about it with your network, with your fellow entrepreneurs. We really want you to understand how these practical business lessons are applied by the entrepreneurs, and they can share their nuggets of wisdom, their school of hard knocks as well. So please do continue sharing with your network, and keep building, keep moving forward, and keep creating your business blueprint. I will see you all in the next episode. Thank you so much.